welcome to a blustery day on the Oregon coast. It's rough out there.
It's pretty nasty.
We're in this really cool spot. We're gonna do, well, Dave's gonna do some fishing, even though it is rough. I think there's a spot you can fish at safely. And anyway, we thought we would just sit and chat and have some toilet talk today. Let's talk toilets.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned in a couple previous videos that would be, since we had so much time with our composting toilet and our regular flushing RV toilet we had in our road track and the flushing toilet having this, and we've mentioned several times that we should probably do a video and talk about our thoughts on the two systems since we've used them both for so long.
Yeah,
so that's what we're doing today.
We do have a full review of our Nature's Head composting toilet that we had in our custom built van. And I'll put a link to that so you could watch that whole review. We're not going to get into all of that today, but definitely going to hit the highlights of what we mentioned in that video as well. And there's a little demonstration in there too. So check out the full review of our Nature's Head. So first, what was it, 3 or 4 years, 3.5 years?
3.5 years
of us traveling full time. We were in a Road Trek Zion SRT, which had a regular flush RV flushing toilet with a black and gray tank.
And we traveled much different back then. We've been full time almost 7 years now with the Road Trek we had for 3.5 years. And then we went to the custom-built Hummel road van that had the Nature's Head composting toilet. And we were in that for about 2.5 years. And our travel ways continued to evolve. And eventually we decided we wanted to change even more. So we got the lifted four-wheel truck.
With the truck camper.
And a camper. And now we're back to a black and gray tank.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to think about the process of, not the process, but
the evolution of our travel.
It's been interesting. Yeah, the evolution of our travel has been interesting, I guess.
The first few years, we were rarely at a campground. During that travel time, with our kind of small tanks, we had smaller tanks in the Road Trek Zion SRT. We were having to find dump stations because for us, it was all about avoiding campgrounds, BLM land, National Forest.
I think sometimes we would go
months.
Months. Maybe a campground every couple months or so. So yeah, it was a challenge, and so I was looking forward to the composting toilet. But just another thing I want to mention is there's no right or wrong. Just like when we had the previous video talking about which type of RV is right, there is no right or wrong. It's whatever works best for you and your circumstances. There are times where we found the composting toilet was better and vice versa. But after having the two for a while, I guess when we wrap this up at the end, we'll tell you
our opinions,
our what we will and won't do in the future.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, the tanks in the Road Trek were small, so that limited our ability to be out and off grid. We had to find a dump station every 5 days.
Yeah, and that was really being careful with water usage. I think I should look this up. It was less than a 10-gallon black tank and less than 20 gallons. I think it was 18 of a gray tank.
Yeah. And
then 36 gallons of fresh water. And so not only were the black and gray tanks small, but also the when you're with a flushing toilet, every time you flush, you're losing your precious 36 gallons. I think we had maybe 30 gallons in that. But anyway, so a lot of your water goes down the toilet, and with the composting, obviously, it's no water.
So it's definitely a pro in my book to the composting toilet. You are not wasting any of your fresh water down the tank.
Right.
Really, so we really could hold on to that resource a lot longer. Another thing also, when your black tank is full, it's full, and we have definitely filled it in the Road Trek where you cannot put another drop in there, and we are desperately looking for a dump station because we miscalculated.
Because anyone knows that the gauges
are not
on your
accurate.
black and gray, they're accurate for a little while.
Yeah, maybe.
In fact, the time I remember most was when we were brand new in the road truck, it was our first probably 6 months. We were in Central Oregon, and we went mountain biking.
We were at a city park
in Sisters, Oregon, and you were taking a shower.
Yeah.
And the gray tank filled up into
and
the
it was
shower.
getting back water into the shower pan.
While she is in there sudsed up.
Trying to shave my legs and like, ah! So he had to drive around, found the campground to dump while I was still in the bathroom. Like, anyway, we learned some lessons, but an advantage to having the composting toilet for us was when it's time to change the composting toilet, it's not urgent.
Yeah,
you just say, oh, within a day or two or within a week, let's be thinking about finding a place where it'd be easy to do that. Right. So it's not an urgent matter.
Right.
I would say one of the disadvantages to the composting toilet is to dump it, you actually have to remove the toilet. We had to take it all the way out of the camper. I mean, that's not something you want to be dumping inside the van. So you have to lift it, and it can get quite heavy when it's full and ready to go. So we have to lift it and take it outside, and then so not only the weight's kind of cumbersome to do that, but then your toilet, you're doing this outside. So
finding a place to do that
where you're comfortable dumping a toilet into a garbage bag it is a thing, you know. So
yeah. And then the other, in fact, if you watch the video that she referenced, that, or we did the review of the Nature's Head, the biggest bad thing about the composting toilet was for you.
Yes, so the Nature's Head composting toilet has a urine diverter and separator. So it has a separate tank for the liquids, and then the solids go into a separate compartment, which is then what is composted. And as a female, and maybe just me, but I don't think it's just me.
No, we've had several people that watch the videos that I'm the exact same way, girl.
You can't really direct where your urine is going, and it's supposed to divert to the front, and that's near impossible for me. So it just was not a great experience to use the composting toilet, because you're not supposed to get urine in the solids compartment at all.
And going to the bathroom should be a good experience.
Well, I mean, you should be relaxed anyway. So it wasn't, I can make it work, but I did not like it for that reason. It was complicated for me, and so therefore don't like.
Yeah. For me, the worst thing about the composting toilet, the biggest con was, you'd have to dump the composting, the ugly parts, for a couple weeks, but you had to dump the urine bottle every day or two.
Yeah.
And I really dislike that. If you're in a campground, you got to carry a urine jug to the bathroom. You don't want to be dumping it in your camp spot or anything like that. And so that was
something you always have to think about. Oh, does it need dumped? This is a good spot, you know, and you don't want to let that slide because you don't want to overfill the urine compartment.
Yeah.
A pro definitely to the composting versus black tank, and especially because our tanks were small originally, is we could go 3 weeks with the Nature's Head composting toilet, and like we mentioned with the road truck, we could go 5 days. So that is a huge difference, and that was one of the main reasons we really wanted to go to composting, is because we intended to be off grid for long periods of time. And you know, as he mentioned, our travel has changed, so we're not looking to do that so much, and now we kind of find ourselves in a campground at least once a week, which is more than enough for our larger tanks that we have now in the truck camper.
Yeah, our truck camper, the Cirrus 820 from New Camp, I think, well, the freshwater is
close to 40.
Yeah, not quite 40 gallons.
Yeah.
And the black and gray are twice as large as the road truck.
Yeah, so we haven't even maxed those out ever, because we dump whenever it's convenient.
So we can live a pretty normal life using the toilet, using the shower, and at least once a week we're in a camp spot so we can dump and fill water, and it's never that big of an issue. So having this camper definitely changed how we felt about having
the black tank.
The flush.
We still do not like dump stations, but there's no way to avoid them.
I really enjoyed not finding dump stations, and so we've been in dump stations in all over 48 and most Canadian provinces. They're not all created equal.
They're not.
And people don't treat them as nice as they probably should. I should also mention that mainly because the dump stations that we used, if we weren't staying in campgrounds, weren't usually campground dump stations. They were like municipal ones, or at a highway rest stop or something. And we were using the app to find them, but most of the campground ones are pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that as much.
Right. Which is where we find ourselves now.
I could tell you horror stories about some of the RV dump stations that we pulled into.
We won't.
But we won't.
That's a different video.
Different
Nobody
video.
wants to watch. One con I would say with the composting toilet is you do have to treat the soil for bugs, because you do not want bugs in the composting toilet. And you can ask me how I know, because I think twice in 2 years we got a bug infestation. So there are additives to the coconut coir that we used to prevent that, and then sometimes it just happened anyway.
Well, sometimes we were traveling in all different environments. Sometimes like it's hot and really humid, and everything kind of changed how that all worked.
Yes, so that is something to be aware of, and I was not actually really aware of that until we got the composting toilet. A friend of ours who owned a sailboat mentioned that we need to be treating the coconut coir for bugs.
But both times we got bugs, we were treating it, were we?
Yes.
Yeah.
It still just happened. So
Yeah.
Anyway, I would definitely say that's a con, because it was kind of a big ordeal to get rid of while you're on the road. Like it's a thing. So 10 out of 10 did not enjoy that.
Right. You can kind of see where this is leading, can't you?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say also a con to having the regular flush toilet is, especially the first few years we were traveling, again, like you mentioned, we were not in campgrounds. We were trying to find dump stations, and especially out east, they are harder to find, and a lot of them you have to pay for.
Oh,
Some of them quite expensive, actually.
Yes.
So with the composting toilet, you don't have that happening.
Right. Yeah. There was some places it was like $30 to dump tanks, and you're in line to dump tanks behind a Class A who's going to spend $30 to dump their tanks.
Yeah, and our tank was like 12 gallons.
And we're going to bump
like...
So, but for the most part, if we're using campgrounds, it kind of eliminates that issue.
For sure.
So.
One thing with the composting toilet is you do not have to deal with stinky slinky and storage for...
Yeah, but you just have to store the coconut coir, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, and the black and gray hose, the stinky slinky, is stored outside in a container, so it's not a big deal.
With this camper,
with this,
it's made a huge difference. With the road truck, we stored it in a dry bag hanging off our ladder out back, because we don't want that inside the camper. So yeah, this camper definitely has been better as far as those things.
So what else is bad about either of them?
I can't really think. I think we pretty much covered a lot. We are wasting water now with our flush toilet again, but I think for me, not having to divert or separate urine from solids is a huge thing. And so with our bigger tanks, I'm much preferring the system we have now with the black and gray and the
overall I'm extremely happy to be back with a regular flushing toilet. It's I guess one of the nicest things. It's a toilet almost just like your house, except it's gravity, but it's basically the same thing. You go to the bathroom, you flush it,
it disappears.
I can stand up again, which is a guy thing. The composting toilet, I had to sit down because...
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Which isn't a big deal, but when you're used to it, especially as a cyclist, I have cycling bibs.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
It gets complicated.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm very happy to be back with the regular flushing toilet, and it definitely is because of the way we travel now. Just hitting campgrounds and using their dump stations, and having large enough freshwater and black and gray tanks that it's never an issue. We're never really having to skimp, but we could. Yeah. I mean, we could go out for a pretty extended length of time. We still go out in the national forest. We still go out in, you know, BLM land or whatever for 3 or 4 days, and we can still do that. Both are big enough tanks.
Yeah.
It's back to a campground. It's not a big issue. So.
Right.
But yeah, it was getting to be tiresome to the compost until, like she said, was heavy, and then in a class B, you know, in a van, everything's very tight, and so to be in the narrow hallway, get the bathroom doors open, get the toilet out. I mean, if you had a bad back, there's no way. Yeah. And then get it out of the camper, and it was a tight fit out the doors, and I don't do that anymore. Yeah. And I'm happy. So I actually, the first year, I was super happy with it. I couldn't imagine going back, but it got old.
It got old, and that's just the Nature's Head. There are other versions of that out there, and I don't know how different those are. Maybe they address some of the issues that we're talking about.
Yeah, so if you've had different composting toilets that you know, let us know in the comments, you know, what your experience with this or others have been. And also there's other types. There's cassettes and...
Yeah, we've not tried a cassette toilet.
If you have tried a cassette, let us know.
I don't know if... I mean, I would try it all, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, with the way we live our life is we're willing to try anything, because if you base a decision based on what other people think, some people absolutely love the composting toilet. Yeah. Some people absolutely hate it. So when we were looking into it, it was like, well,
let's give it a shot.
It's a love-hate thing, and who do you know which camp you're going to fall into until you do it? Yeah. But if I was to do like another home build, and it was going to be for like specific trips, like, you know, and part time, I'm not sure if I'd probably look at a cassette, because if you're just going out for like a weekend, then you have to use your compost.
Oh yeah, set the whole thing up. You don't want to leave it for a month or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, and it varies based on how many people are using it too. For us, it's 2. Some people travel with more people, or just a single person. Like that would last quite a long time. Yeah. So.
Maybe we just sucked at using a composting toilet and did it all wrong. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it wasn't terrible, but it definitely had its disadvantages in the end for us.
Yeah. I was just enjoying for so long not having to find dump stations and waiting for 3 weeks, but
now you're enjoying not having to find places to dump the urine every day and somewhere appropriate to dump the compost. So
yeah. And when the urine thing's full and you gotta go, you gotta find a place to dump it. Yeah. So carry a spare, I guess.
Yeah. And well, some people do. Yeah, they have 2.
That way you can take a couple jugs to the bathroom with you.
Yeah. Anyway, like we mentioned, that's just our experience, and this too will change as we try different things, but for now, and this is just us too. We're loving this moment we're in. This is working great for us, and that's how it was when we first got the composting. This was amazing. Like, love it.
Yeah. Well, I always worried also, because you know the composting toilet was in a wet bath, and so I was always worried that maybe showering was going to get
moist or something.
All the moistness in the air.
You do have to keep it just right.
Here, hop in the shower and let that toilet get wet. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
True.
So, anyway.
That's our thoughts on the matter.
That's today's toilet talk.
Toilet talk. Do you want to go fishing at the beach?
Yeah. We'll see. The wind is coming straight to the beach, so, which make a challenge to cast out in trying to catch surf perch, but at least it's not blowing my line when I'm. We'll find out.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? something.
No fish today. Look at all the seaweed. The Oregon coast has had crazy gobs and gobs of seaweed around.
Gobs.
Gobs.
Gobs, you said.
All right. See you down the road. Carry on.
Carry on. Thanks for watching.
And a very special thank you to our patrons for supporting our channel. Join us over on Patreon for extra videos and more content. Check out our website or Amazon for our pistol book. Carry on.
Carry on.